Have you ever felt like you were addicted to a person? But not just in love, but truly, physically dependent. Like, they are destroying you. You see the lies, you feel the pain, but the moment they walk out the door, you feel like you can breathe. If you have ever judged yourself for staying too long in a relationship that felt more like a prison than a home, I want you to listen very closely today. I want to tell you about someone I know. Her name is Sarah. Sarah is one of the smartest people I have ever met. She's a high achiever, empathetic, and strong. But for 2 years, Sarah disappeared. She became a shadow of herself, trapped in a cycle that made no sense to anyone looking in from the outside. People would ask her, "Why don't you just leave this guy?" And she would just stare at them, unable to explain that leaving felt like trying to jump out of a moving car at 100 miles an hour. What Sarah was experiencing wasn't a bad romance, it was trauma bonding. And today I'm going to tell you Sarah's story, to show you exactly how this invisible chain is forged, why your brain betrays you, and how you can finally break free. And all through the 7 signs that show why you're not in love but trapped. It all started with what we call love bombing. When Sarah met this man, he seemed like the answer to every prayer. He told her she was the one within a week. He sent flowers to her office, he texted her good morning, good night every single day, without a fail. He mirrored her interests, her dreams, and her fears. Sarah felt rush she had never felt before. But here is the dark secret. That high was psychological. Her brain was being flooded with dopamine. It was chemical setup, because once the bond was established, the packaging began to tear. One day, the flowers stopped. The sweet messages turned into cold, short sentences. When Sarah asked what was wrong, he didn't give her an answer, he gave her silence. And later, he told her she was being needy and dramatic. Sarah started obsessing over how to fix it, waiting for the version of the man she met in a week one to come back. In psychology, we call this intermittent reinforcement. It's the same cycle of scarcity that creates a deep obsession. Sarah was starving for affection, waiting for a small sign of love that rarely came. As months went by, things got worse. The relationship became a roller coaster. The highs were incredible, but the lows were devastating. He would use harsh words, criticize her appearance, or disappearing for days. Sarah's body was constantly flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. She lived in the state of fight or flight, walking on eggshells, trying to predict his next mood. He also would constantly deny things he said, making Sarah feel like she was losing her mind. Sarah eventually stopped seeing her friends because she was too exhausted from managing his moods. But then, just as she was ready to give up, he would switch. He would cry, he apologize, he'd tell her he couldn't live without her. He would bring back the love bombing for 24 hours. And in that moment, Sarah's brain would get a massive hit of dopamine. That relief felt like a massive chemical high. It washed away the pain of the previous week. This is the bond. Your brain begins to associate the person who caused the pain as the only person who can take the pain away. I remember talking to Sarah then. She would say, "I know he's not good for me, but nobody understands him like I do. He has had a hard life." She was rationalizing his toxic behavior. She was packaging his toxicity into something she could tolerate. She was choosing to believe the lie because The truth was too devastating to face. This is the cognitive dissonance. Having two versions of a person in your head and choosing to believe the lie because the truth is too painful to face. By the end of the second year, Sarah was isolated. She had stopped seeing her friends because she didn't want to answer their questions. She had stopped pursuing her hobbies because all her energy went into managing his emotions. This is the goal of a manipulator, to make themselves your entire world. But one night something changed. The mask slipped so far that Sarah couldn't unsee the reality. He said something so cruel, so devoid of empathy, that for a split second the chemical fog cleared. She realized she wasn't in love with him. She was in love with a ghost, a version of a man that he had invented to trap her. Leaving wasn't easy. In fact, it was the hardest thing she ever did. When she finally walked away, she didn't feel free immediately. Her brain was craving the dopamine hit. She couldn't sleep, she couldn't eat, and her brain kept screaming at her to call him, just to get that hit of validation one last time. This is what psychologists refer to as the aftermath. It's not a simple breakup, it's a biological detox. If you are listening to this and you feel like Sarah, I want you to know three things. First, you are not weak. You are not stupid. You have been biologically hijacked. Your brain is doing exactly what it was evolved to do: seek safety in connection, but it's doing it with the wrong person. Second, the good version of that person, it doesn't exist. It was a tool used to hook you. The person who hurts you, who demeans you, and who leaves you in tears, that is the real person. Believe the patterns, not the apologies. And third, you can break the bond. Sarah did it. It started with no contact. Not a single text, not a single check of his Instagram. She had to treat him like a toxin her body was finally learning to reject. She went to therapy, she reconnected with the friends she had pushed away, and she started writing down every bad thing he ever did to her. Every time she felt the urge to go back, she read that list. Today, Sarah has found her way back to herself. She's laughing again, and she's thriving in her career. But most important, she has finally reclaimed her peace. Trauma bonding thrives in silence. By watching this video, you have already started bringing it into the light. If the story sounded like yours, or if you know a Sarah in your life, please share this. Leave a comment below. Let's create a space where we stop asking why didn't they leave and start asking how can we help them heal. You are worth more than the crumbs someone is throwing at you. You deserve a love that doesn't hurt. I'm Jaromir. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next session. And subscribe for more psychological breakdowns.